Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Declutter 360 podcast, where I help you organize your life from all angles. Today, yes, we are focusing in on a kid topic, but even if you don't have kids, I am sure that you have experienced this in your adult life and are going to find some helpful tips for you to be able to conquer the clutter in your own life. But today, we are talking about conquering post holiday clutter with our kids. Oh my gosh, what is it about the holidays that bring in so much clutter? We just finished celebrating the Easter holiday this past weekend, about 4 days ago. And it is amazing the generosity that comes from the people who love our kids the most. Commonly, it's the grandparents. Sometimes it's aunts and uncles, and it can even be our friends and neighbors, right? People who love us and love our kids want to be able to share things with them, something tangible. And at Easter time, we think about Easter baskets. We also think about egg hunts and all of the stuff that comes with those Easter baskets and Easter egg hunts that then oftentimes just becomes clutter in our home because all of these items that are in their Easter baskets, in these egg hunts, come home and they now are new things that we have to manage within our homes. And when we have a sudden influx of lots of new things coming into our home, it can definitely heighten that feeling of stress, overwhelm, frustration, even as we find things all over our house that don't yet have a home, or maybe that we don't even necessarily want or feel like we need to find a home for. Maybe it's an item or 12 that we feel our kids don't even really need to have. A lot of times that comes in the form of little plastic trinkets that we find in egg hunts or just little last minute dollar spot type items that get stuffed into an Easter basket. We always want to be giving our things more. And guess what? As moms, we oftentimes are just as guilty as those grandparents and well meaning aunts and uncles and neighbors and friends who are giving them things because we just want to give our kids some fun things and show them that we love them as well, right? And so it's all about managing all of these new things. And today I'm going to share 4 total tips with you. 2 of them are going to help you manage things by working ahead of time. So, right now, as we're just getting past a holiday, you may be thinking, oh, great, Lauren, thanks. I would have loved to have heard this 2 weeks ago. And if that's what you're thinking as you listen to these first couple of tips, I want to invite you to set a notification in your digital calendar on your phone. Put something in your calendar about a week or 2 ahead of whatever you see that next event, holiday, birthday, whatever it may be, that you're like, ooh, that is a potential point for there to be an influx of stuff coming in and creating clutter in my home. Okay. I want you to put a little reminder in your calendar and set a little alert so you get a reminder and it doesn't just go by if you don't happen to look at your calendar. I want you to set that little alert so that you can think about it and utilize these first 2 tips I'm going to share with you that are going to help you plan ahead and get a head start on conquering that clutter that comes with our kids and the holidays. The next 2 tips I will share with you are going to help you dig in and feel empowered to conquer that clutter that might be in your house right now. And it's also something that you can revisit each and every time this happens that's going to help you bring down that stress level, bring down that overwhelm. And guess what? If you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed by all that clutter, your kids are likely feeling that as well. And it may manifest a little bit differently, show up a little bit differently for your kids, but trust me, they are feeling it too. So you're not just doing yourself a favor by being really intentional in how you manage the influx of stuff that comes with a holiday for our kids, but you're helping your kids as well and helping your kids create healthy habits for the future. And that can be just as important as managing the clutter right now. So let's go ahead and dive into those first two tips that I promised you that are going to help you be a little bit more intentional. Oh, and something else I just thought of. Go ahead and with that reminder you stick in your calendar, tell yourself to come back and listen to this episode. This is episode 3 of the Declutter 360 podcast, just to help you spark your memory and remind yourself of the steps that you're going to be taking to help you have a clutter-free holiday with your kids. Okay. So the first tip that I want to offer to you is to be proactive, be intentional, plan ahead. So if you are the one who is the bringer of the clutter, if you're planning their Easter baskets, if you are picking out several community egg hunts for your kids to participate in, or you are creating an egg hunt for yourself, for your family, yourself, and you are choosing the items that are going into those eggs, you need to be intentional and plan ahead and really think about what items and how many items do I want to have to manage after this holiday season? Do I really want to manage 4 egg hunts worth of stuff? Probably not. If that's the answer, probably not, or heck no, don't sign your kids up for 4 Easter egg hunts, right? Think that piece through. And then if you're planning an Easter egg hunt for yourself or planning those Easter baskets, be really intentional about the things that go in their basket or that go inside those eggs, okay? I love consumable items, but even then, you have to be intentional about the quantity, right? If you're going to put candy in those eggs, you probably don't need each kid to have 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen eggs that they're finding, right? 6, 8, 10, 12 eggs might be enough. Just something to think about. Same thing with their Easter basket. I love putting like a bottle of my kids' favorite drink, a favorite snack of theirs, a couple little chocolate candy things. But I really try to limit the quantity because even having a ton of candy, something that's consumable, is still something that you have to find a home for and manage while they work their way through eating down that candy stash, right? So thinking not just about what you are filling those Easter baskets or Easter eggs with, but how much you're filling them with, and planning ahead and thinking about the other side of the holiday as you do that can be really, really helpful in managing the clutter. The other thing is I like to think about, especially for their baskets, what are some things that they ask for often or that would be really useful? For example, this year, my teenager has a cell phone and it is constantly like running out of battery, right? And he is always asking me, Mom, can't we just get a new phone? My battery runs out. Well, first of all, you don't need to be on your phone that much that your battery is running out, but I'm just not ready to upgrade him to the latest model of whatever phone. So instead, he got a portable battery charger for his phone in his Easter basket. So it's definitely not going to become clutter. He's going to love having that. I'm going to love having that because he's not going to be complaining about having a dead battery on his phone constantly. And I'll be able to reach him reliably, knowing that he's got a backup battery charger and won't always have a dead phone later in the day. My younger son, I had to get a little bit more creative with. But I thought about for him is that he loves to listen to music. He will pull something up on his iPad anytime and be blaring music all over the house, or using our Amazon Echo Dots to blare music around the house. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, kiddo, sometimes I don't necessarily want to be listening to the same music that you are listening to, or any music at all, right? Sometimes that noise clutter can really get to us. So he got a pair of wireless earbuds in his Easter basket. And so now he has been happy as a clam for 4 or 5 days now with his wireless earbuds in, listening to whatever music he wants when he's home. And we have all been a lot happier and calmer, not necessarily having to listen to the music that he is listening to. So sometimes you can just really tune into what your kids are into or where maybe there are some pain points in your home and provide them with items that are really awesome and they're excited about, that are also really useful as well. That's something we talk about a lot with clutter. Clutter is not going to be made up of things that are really useful to you, right? Clutter is when we have too many things in our house that are not useful to us. So the other tip I want to share with you is, again, goes along with that being proactive, and that it's to set boundaries and to set expectations. So the boundaries that you're going to be setting are when you're going to maybe an egg hunt, say at one of the grandparents' houses, or maybe both sets of grandparents are hosting an egg hunt for your kiddo. So if you have seen that, history has shown that they like to fill the eggs with lots of random little toys and plastic trinkets and things that just end up all over your house, you can have a really tactful conversation with them about how that gets really overwhelming, both for you and your kids, because you're constantly having to remind them to clean them up, or you're stepping on toys, or things are breaking, or whatever it may be. You can find a kind way to have that conversation ahead of time, offer suggestions, or even offer to provide some things to stuff in the eggs or to help them stuff the eggs. That can help alleviate some of the anxiety just in having that conversation when we're actually offering suggestions and not just complaining about what was in the eggs last year. Does that make sense? Now, at the same time, as we can be proactive and set some boundaries with those who are hosting the egg hunts, or being the gift givers, we can also set expectations with our kids, because, as I mentioned earlier, even when it's something consumable like candy, it can still end up feeling like a lot. So ahead of the holiday, you could pick out, for example, any size Ziploc bag that you decide is manageable for you and your kids, whether that's a snack size or all the way up to a gallon size, totally your choice. And you, again, get to be in control of what that is. But give one to each of your kids, write their name on it and tell them, hey, we're going to have so much fun at this egg hunt. I bet you are going to get a ton of candy. Let's, when we get home, pick out all of your favorites that will fit in this bag. And let's decide that that's just what we're going to keep. That's what we have room for in our house. After that, we'll find something else to do with the extra candy or the candy that you don't like. We're going to make sure to pick out your favorites that will fit in this bag. Helping set up those expectations, even something like receiving money. They might get a lot of little coins or dollars, and that's really exciting and awesome too. And you might not think of money as clutter. I don't know about you, but my kids tend to come home and just put that on the counter or throw it on the floor behind the couch or wherever it may be. And you're like, that is not where money goes. So again, just setting those expectations. You might get some candy. You might even get some cash or some coins. Where does your money go when we get home? Oh, yeah, it's going to go in your piggy bank, or it's going to go in your wallet, or I'm going to take it and deposit in the bank. Whatever your choice is, set that expectation ahead of time and help your kids follow through with it, rather than just having to spend the next week or two hollering at them to please clean up their mess, right? All right. So those first couple of tips are what are going to help you not just next Easter, but to be proactive and intentional before any upcoming holiday. Being intentional and planning ahead, being proactive and setting boundaries and expectations with those we love, both the planners and the gifters and the receivers being our kiddos. These next couple of tips I want to share with you are going to help you right now and post holiday going forward. Okay. So the first is kind of along those lines of helping you deal with the excess. So even though you designated this maybe quart size Ziploc bag, and we're going to put all your favorite candy that fits in this Ziploc bag, that's what we're going to keep and save. So what do you do with the candy that doesn't fit there? Well, this first tip offers the opportunity for you to have a chance to teach your kids about giving and sharing. So finding other groups of people who might enjoy partaking in some of that excess candy. So you might have a local fire station near your home where you could drop off that candy for the firefighters and paramedics to enjoy. You might want to put together some little baggies, and when you know you're expecting a package, you could leave a little treat baggie on the porch for your delivery person. You might even call around to some nursing homes and see if they would accept donations of candy to be able to share with their residents. So, finding opportunities for giving and sharing can be a great way to cut down on some of that excess that otherwise becomes clutter that we have to manage in our homes. The other tip I want to share with you right now is to employ something I call a clutter catcher. The best thing about the clutter catcher is it's not just for the holidays. You can use this 365 days a year, even 366 days a year, as it is with a leap year this year. You can use this every day. And it's super customizable. Okay. You can choose all the different parameters of how the clutter catcher works, what it looks like in your home, and customize it as your kids grow. You can change it to help shift some of that, more of that responsibility onto your kids. Where if your kids are very young or you're very new to using a clutter catcher, it might require a little bit more in the way of assistance or reminders to help them get the hang of it. Okay, so here's how a clutter catcher works and what it is. Many folks will utilize maybe a large hamper with a lid. Okay, you definitely want a container that is opaque and that has a lid. Why? Why does it need to be opaque and why does it need to have a lid? Because this is all about cutting down on visual clutter, which is extra stimulation for your brain that helps take you to that overwhelm place faster. So when we put it in an opaque container with a lid, that helps cut down on that visual feedback and stimulation that we get by seeing all of those items everywhere. And so it helps us to diminish that feeling of overwhelm, diminish those feelings of stress, take down those feelings of frustration, and help us to be able to relax and enjoy life a little bit more, show up the way that we want to show up, right? So our kiddos need to understand that all of their things, even these new things that are coming into their house around the holidays, need to have a home. Okay. And either when they're, as soon as they're done using it, or maybe there's a specific cleanup time at the end of the day that your family likes to employ, they need to know that there's a certain point where there's an expectation that their items that they've been using that day are going to go to their homes. Once they've gone to bed, that opportunity has passed. But that doesn't mean that us parents have to then live with the clutter that's been left out. It also doesn't mean that it's our responsibility to have to pick up all those items and take them to their homes. Instead, we can utilize a clutter catcher. Spend 2, maybe 3 minutes tops making a sweep through your home, whatever, maybe just the main living spaces or spaces and areas where you're going to be for the next little bit of time before you go to bed, where you are looking to have some relaxing time for you to be able to decompress at the end of the day. The last thing you want to be doing is looking at their toys and clutter and Easter egg hunt trinkets all over that area, right? So you're going to take 2 or 3 minutes, clean up anything that was left out, and just toss it into the clutter catcher. Close that lid. Okay. Then in the morning, you can remind your kiddos if some items went into the clutter catcher, they're going to want to check that clutter catcher and get them cleaned out. Now, the most effective way I've seen to utilize the clutter catcher is to go ahead and allow it to fill up. You might give your kids periodic reminders, especially when you're early in using a clutter catcher, to remind them to check it for items that they are wanting to or needing to get back into their homes. Or if they're looking for an item, they might say, "Mom, have you seen my?" And you could simply say, "Check the clutter catcher," because you know exactly where it is if it's not in its home, right? But how many people successfully use a clutter catcher is they allow it to fill. And when it is full, they make sure they give their kids a head up. The clutter catcher is full. You have 24 hours to clean it out, put all those items back in their homes where they belong, or they're going to be donated or disposed of. Again, you can choose a manageable way to make those items disappear if your children are not being responsible with them. And again, it's your choice to go through and see what kinds of things ended up in there and whether or not you actually want to dispose of them. But I also invite you to be really careful about how you utilize the clutter catcher, because we also want to make sure we're setting up an expectation with our kids that we're going to follow through on the things that we say we're going to do, right? So, by utilizing a clutter catcher and by finding those opportunities for giving and sharing, we can help clear out the clutter from our home that comes in post holidays, helping us to return to feelings of calm and peace and stay away from stress and overwhelm. I hope you found these tips to be super helpful, and I would love for you to share this episode with anyone else who you think might be in need of hearing these helpful tips. Maybe you've heard somebody else complaining about the post holiday clutter at their own house, and you can let them know the Declutter 360 podcast has an episode you absolutely need to listen to. All right, my friends, until next week, I hope that you are keeping life decluttered from all angles.